Okay, hey, flooring boys and girls, I got an interesting topic for you here. Something that a lot of people struggle with when they hire me or when they get Floors app or software on board. But when you change those systems, the processes that you do, how do you get the salespeople to buy in instead of checking out? So what we did is created a 6-week plan to help you get the sales team to buy in to what you're doing, right? So it starts off with having a weekly meeting. So I'm going to show you what it works out 6 weeks, how you get this, how you get them across the finish line, the 6-week plan. And in order to do this, we got to start off by having weekly meetings. If you don't have them already, you got to schedule it, book it in there. It should come early in the week. You should cover the same topics every week. So review your numbers, month to date and year to date. You want to review the individual salesperson's performance, month to date and year to date. Every sales meeting, you should be doing some sales training. Every sales meeting, you should be reviewing the marketing and the messaging going on to make sure that the salespeople aren't caught off guard. And then it's a good opportunity to identify whatever problems there are so you can discuss ways to avoid them in the future. You can discuss systems on how to handle the problems when they come up, but also what are the processes we could put in place to avoid those problems, if that's possible. So set the rules of the game. It's not supposed to be a bitch session. If you don't like the plan or idea, we're open to better ideas. That's what I tell my salespeople. Hey, guys, this it's not an option. But absolutely, if you have a better idea, let's hear it. We're trying to make improvements to the company here. All right, let's start off with week one. So, what's the reason for the change? I think it's really important. This is profound because this has been such a big challenge. I have a client that hires me, brings me in, and I know all the changes that they need to make. I know how to get this company working faster, making more money, increasing margins, increasing closing rates. So, we come in and introduce this plan to the salespeople, and it's like, oh crap, they got to change the way that they're used to doing things. Even though my way is faster and easier, they're still very resistant to it because they're used to what the way they do it now, and it's comfortable. Even though it's ineffective, it doesn't work. That's why I'm being called in. So I've taken the wrong approach, and this is where I see, I've said this a lot. Problems are opportunities. And this is something that I've thought through here a little bit now and said, oh, you know what? This is actually a really good opportunity. So what we need to do is focus on, why are we changing our selling system? Why are we changing our software? The same thing works when you're getting new software. Why are we changing leadership? You might be firing somebody or bringing an additional manager in, as we are right now for one company, to lead. I've done that a couple of times here recently, where we bought in a manager to help be the leader of the company. We'll explain more of that later. So first, it starts off, you have your weekly meeting. Week one, you want to introduce the problem and the challenge. Help them understand things like, what's our break even? Now, your break even is how much money do you guys need to make in order to just break even for the month. So that a simple formula for that is figure out all your expenses and multiply them by 4. If you're at a 40% margin, that should give you a good idea what your break even is. So an example, if it's $30,000, is your marketing, rent, bookkeeper, your salary. This doesn't include commissions, and it doesn't include materials or installers. But the hard costs that you have every month, let's say it's $30,000, then your break even is around 120. So you need to do at least 120,000 in sales just to break even. You guys want to tell them what the current sales look like? What have the sales been like for the last year, last few months? So where are you guys at in this story? What do you need the sales to look like in order to reach your vision or goals? And that's another thing. Do you even have a vision or goals? If you do your sales team know what that vision is, what your goals are? Paint the big picture on the changes that are necessary for you to improve and get where you want to go. and frame this around their success, not just the company's success. You need to take ownership of this current situation too. So the salespeople are underperforming. Take ownership of that. That's your fault. You didn't set up the system right. You didn't set up the processes right for them to be successful. And that happens a lot. That I meet a lot of companies where you've got good salespeople who are dramatically underperforming because the process for selling is so bad that it's no wonder that they're having trouble. So I've had plenty of companies with rock stars in them. And once you make that process simple for them and show them how to close sales quickly in the home for a higher margin, they do fantastic because they're able to give that information out quickly. All right, week number 2. So that was week number 1. We're just setting up the table for people, let them understand that we're going to be making some changes around here. This is the reason why. We have to do something about that. So week number 2, let's get them involved in the solution. We're going to start with a pilot or two, show them some quick wins. So let's go over that. So people support what they can help create, but in most cases, employees are looking for your solution. And that's true. You can open it up to the table. There's not a lot of employees that have ideas. So they're looking to hear what you say and what your ideas are. But let them know that I want to hear your ideas. We got to work this out as a team. Okay, discuss the new selling system. You can introduce the selling system that we put in place if you're my client, or whatever you decide to do from a selling system, and then ask for their opinions, feedbacks, and ideas. And one thing I do is make a request that all objections are met with better ideas. Don't just bitch, gripe, and complain that you don't like it. Give me a better solution. If you don't like it, let's figure out a better way to do it. And then ask for 1 or 2 brave volunteers just to test pilot it for the next 2 weeks. Consider maybe a reward or bonus. Give $100 for the first in-home sale, or do something to reward the people that you want to test pilot the program. So you can get a little bit of proof of concept here. It'll help the buy-in. Week number 3, show your numbers. Discuss how it went and what do we need to improve. So show your numbers. Look, that should be done every single meeting. You should be showing the numbers. Hopefully, we've got some improved numbers from our test pilot salespeople. Re-emphasize your goals. What needs to happen for you to reach your goals? This, again, common theme. It should be written on your whiteboard. If you don't have a whiteboard, get a whiteboard. Write that at the top. What's your vision? What's your goals for 2025, next year, 2026? So people are clear about what's the goals, where we're at, what do we need to do to get there. Allow your brave volunteers to talk about the experience, discuss what went right and what they could have done better, what the company, we could have done better. So one of the things that we do in our process is create a sales presentation. Does that sales presentation, is the wording right in that thing? Do we need to change it? Do we need to move some things around? Is there something we do that's not in the sales presentation that we should highlight that? And don't ever give up. Always looking for better ways to improve your process. Go back to the way you were doing things is not an option. And you got to make that clear to your salespeople. Look, I know you don't like the changes and it's upsetting, but we can't afford to go back to the way we used to do things. We're going to go out of business. So we showed you what was going on. I want you to get on board with this. So you're taking them slow. I mean, we're on week 3 and your whole team's not doing the new process yet. Let's talk a little bit about leadership before we go on to week 4. It's really important that your employees have good leaders. It's going to benefit you and them. They need it. Everybody, just like your kids need good parents, your employees need good leadership. They need somebody that can hold them accountable and make them do better in their career. Make your expectations clear. And that's what's great about showing the numbers. It makes those expectations real clear, what you're seeing. People respect what you inspect. And that's the point of showing those numbers weekly. It's not a difficult thing to do, and it's very powerful. It's the most powerful thing you can do to get somebody to be more successful. A lot of people will say, pay them more money, or punish them if they don't reach a certain amount or if they make a mistake. Punishments and rewards financially don't change their behavior. What changes their behavior? They got to see the score of the game. They got to see where they're at, where their numbers are at. Made this point quite a bit. If you watched a football game without the score, how long would you watch that game? Well, your employees are playing the game without a score. So it's not that interesting. My mood depends on what happened today. What happened at this moment. There's no euphoria or great mood because sales are doing good. There's no bad feeling when sales are bad, especially if I'm getting paid and I have no idea where we're at sales wise. And a lot of employees don't know where you're at company wise or just their own numbers. So hold them accountable. The numbers don't ever lie. Companies cannot survive without a good leader. You need to be a good leader in order for the company to survive. If that's not you, that's okay. Consider hiring someone who would be a good leader. We just did this in 2 companies. We hired managers to help run the company because the people, great people, but they don't have the skills to be the leaders of the company. So we bought a leader in. And now they can have a leadership team that works together to grow the company. So regardless, whether you're good or leader or not, if you're not, let's fix that problem and get you a good leader in the company that you can work with on building the company. They can execute your plan. All right, let's go. Week number 4, we're going to sustain and scale buy-in. All right, by now it's time to get everybody on board with our new process and system. We should have evidence that this works. We also have some evidence that it doesn't work. And that's okay. You got to expect that. Not everybody's going to buy from you. You go with the process and the sales system I show you, you're not going to raise your closing rate to 100%. A good company generating a lot of leads, a good closing rate for that company is going to be 50, 55%. That means you're still going to lose half the jobs. That's normal. You can't worry about the 1 or 2 outliers or the people that show you that this program doesn't work, just as long as your numbers overall are improving. If your closing rate was 30%, we move it up to 50%. Are you really that concerned about the 50% who didn't buy? Because before it was 70% who wasn't buying from you. Now it's just 50%. Okay. Also, if we're getting higher margins, are you really concerned about that 50% that didn't buy from you? Because the ones that did are paying you more money. So we're looking for an overall increase in the margins and closing rate. And we can still make improvements. We can always make improvements. I created a sales presentation early on for my company. I changed that thing 20 times. It's because I always thought of better ideas, thought of a better way to make that presentation. So you can always improve your process and system to help move the needle. And you can still train and get better. Are you prepared with good sales training? And right now we need your leadership. You have to make some tough decisions. So if salespeople are not willing to improve their performance and presentation, then you gotta consider letting them go. You might need to let some people go. Give them a chance. We want them to be successful, but you can't allow them to burn through good leads, expensive leads. The cost to get leads are between $400 and $500 these days. I mean, it's very expensive to attract a lead, and you've got a salesperson that won't close in the home, won't follow up. I mean, how many leads is that costing you? How much money is that costing you? So week number 5, lesson learned. Like every weekly meeting, we need to review the numbers. What are your total sales? What's the closing rate? What's the average ticket price? What are our margins? Are we making progress? Do we need to make adjustments? You guys are talking about this all as a team. So it's very powerful. Every weekly meeting, you're going to do a little bit of sales training too. You're going to talk about the marketing. You're going to talk about the problems. But really, it's these numbers that are really important, especially when we're changing our processes and our systems. Okay, every week, how can we make it better? How can we make this better? How can we make this better? Are you guys getting it? What's wrong? What's making you uncomfortable? Why can't you give a price in the home? Oh, we can fix that. We had a client that one of the challenges was the sales tax, different sales tax rates in all cities. Well, when we crunched the numbers, it's like just use the numbers we have. We can figure it out on the back end. And that's the thing, was we can quickly quote in the home, and then we can make those numbers all match on the back end. So let's get the sale and then make sure it's all done right and entered into the computer right after we've already gotten the sale. Let's not worry about making sure all the numbers are right more than getting the sale. And that's where a lot of people are, and that's where they move slower, is because they're trying to get the job priced right versus trying to get the job. Let's get the job and make sure our system and processes are set up to price it correctly. And it's not hard to do. Done this for hundreds of flooring dealers already. Week number 6, learning never ends. Hey guys, if you like this video, by the way, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe to the video. I appreciate it. Subscribe to this channel. You constantly get the new videos that I'm putting up, and always come up with good content that's going to help you profit in your flooring business. So week number 6, learning never ends. Seek to improve. Review the numbers again and again and again. This is an every week exercise. Celebrate the wins. Recognize your team's accomplishment. One thing you can do is create like a group text, and I like to do a bell. So if somebody gets a sale over 7,500, we do a bell ringer. So, hey, Nancy, good job, and hit the bell. And then all the other salespeople are chiming in, hey, great job, So you get a lot of good support that way. And one thing that should be clear by now is that there's always opportunities to improve your system, your process, your individual performance. Everything can always be made better. All right. I want you to have a culture of success. When they brag, when they compete, when they have fun, you have succeeded running your company. Okay. A culture of success. And that is going to be when they brag. That's going to be when they're competing against each other. That they're going to have fun. So that's what you want. You want a work environment where they enjoy it. I want a place where they can come into work even on their day off, because it's no big deal. I like it here, and I want to take care of this customer and get the sale. So I don't mind stopping in on my day off. You really succeeded running the company. I loved it when my salespeople were talking about, oh, I got this margin. They would brag about the margins they were getting. They would brag about the sales they were getting. They would compete against each other. There was always that one guy that they didn't like, and they were so happy to beat him. So that kind of competition is awesome. There's nothing better when your salespeople are fighting over the top dog status in your company. All right, guys, to learn more ways that you can increase your closing rate, increase your margins, get more 5-star reviews, create some kick-ass marketing, and we are creating some kick-ass marketing right now. Apply to learn more at jerrylevinson.com/apply and join our 90K and 90-day program. Great way to end the year. And it's time for you to profit now in the flooring industry.